Welcome back to Frederick Advice Givers, episode 167. I'm Eric Verdi, and to my left here today is Teddy Galloway.
Hi.
He's got doing a pre-interview questions with him. He's got a pretty interesting story here about his life and his journey through life that led him back to Frederick to help out the youth here. His company, Eager Line, is how old?
2 years.
Okay. 2 years old. He's making an impact here in the community. Also a fellow cadet. So Frederick High, he was 02.
Yeah, 02.
02, and I'm 94, so I'm about 8 years older than Teddy here.
You don't look a year older.
Yeah. So we got some mutual connections, mutual friends, and saw he's doing good things here, and I wanted to have you on Advice Givers to share your story. So Teddy, appreciate it, man. Thanks for coming today.
Thank you so much.
So for our audience that doesn't know you, give us your backstory. Like, where did you grow up? What do you enjoy doing in your spare time? What led you back to Frederick? And what's your origin story, man?
Awesome. I am the oldest child of 6, and we're all local here. My grandparents are Chuck and Elaine Smallwood. My grandmother's Karen Smallwood. I'm the oldest of the Galloway crew. You guys might know them: Joey, Tisha, Chantel, Paige, and Gabby. I graduated high school here at Frederick High 2002. I was a pretty decent athlete. Played football, ran track, did baseball on the side, worked full-time jobs most of the time throughout high school. 2002 went to the Marines and served as a chemical biological defense expert. It's a chemical biological, radiological, and nuclear defense expert for the Marine Corps. Following that, I was working as a government contractor for about 12 years. Where I was a weapons of mass destruction expert, terrorism response expert, hazardous materials response expert. I traveled around the world, traveled around the country teaching these things. Okay. It's been real cool. I thoroughly enjoyed the international travel. My degree is from George Mason University's Bachelor of Arts in Global Affairs, which is basically international relations, but understanding the effects of globalization, with a concentration on the Middle East and North Africa. And I came back to Frederick after roughly 15 years of being away or back and forth. I used to live in Northern Virginia. Okay. I lived in San Diego, California for a couple years, and I started to miss Frederick. There was a pull that I felt towards my hometown. Basically, once I started recognizing that how much impact Frederick people had on my life as I was growing, whether it was friends and family, whether it was loved ones or teachers, principals. I had to come back to do something more for the youth. I had to give something of myself. And once my son was born, I recognized that was the time. Basically, when I look at him, I see other people's children, and I start thinking, if I'm going to be in Frederick long term, right, I need to do something for the youth so that the youth in the future will be the adults like me taking care of my son and helping him. So it's just really natural to be back in Frederick. I think that brings us up to today. So
Eager Line is a nonprofit or a for-profit?
Eager Line is a for-profit company. Okay,
so what do you do? How do you come up with the concept?
So basically, I'm a problem solver. I like to solve problems. And if there's anything that I can do to help an organization solve a problem, I will. So I have two main from my background, I have 3 things that I do really well. Okay. Operational planning, strategic thinking, and training. So I take these 3 things to solve problems inside of organizations. Not all of the organizations that I want to support are nonprofits. It just so happens that the problems that I see in the community are being solved by nonprofits, and I want to help, and I do the best I can to help.
Awesome. So you grew up here, Marines, 4 years, traveled all over the world. I think before you came back to Frederick, did you mention you were in San Diego?
Before I came back to Frederick, I had a hiatus in San Diego.
Okay. Yeah. So your son was the primary reason you came back to Frederick, because you wanted to give back to a community that you knew and loved, and that was Frederick. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay.
And to add to that, there was also it was kind of validation coming home. Okay. I've been gone so long. When I came back home, I recognized that Frederick hadn't really changed much. People in the community I had seen, there hadn't been a lot of development. Mm-hmm. Now, since I've been back, there's been a lot of development. Right. So I'm super proud to be of a group of people who felt the need to get motivated and get things done. So yeah, it's perfect time.
Awesome, man. All right, so take this back to a personal level.
Okay.
What's the last purchase that you splurged on for yourself or your family?
It's been a long time. I think the last splurge purpose was my Samsung Note 8.
Okay.
My phone broke.
Right.
The camera was terrible. I couldn't take good shots. I needed better shots for websites and when I'm doing things, so I had to go out and get a camera that worked. So I would call that my most recent splurge.
Awesome. Yeah, I had the Note 1, the Note 2, and then I think it was the Note 3 that started blowing up on the planes. Is that right?
7.
Okay. Yeah, it was the Note 7. So I had gotten that, and within I don't know, a month or whatever, we were going on a flight. And literally, one of the things, the stewardess or whatever, when they give the speech, is if you have a Note 7, you've got to basically deactivate it while we're on the flight.
Wow.
It was pretty crazy.
That is crazy.
All right, so Daddy, what hobby or interest could you spend hours doing?
Video editing.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I love it. I can sit around. There are a lot of times where I'm sitting in this office upstairs until 3 o'clock in the morning editing a video, just because I enjoy it.
So do you like shooting video too, or just editing?
I love shooting video, yeah.
Cool.
I'm a novice though.
Not like Rock behind
that guy over there is the man.
Yeah. All right, so when you wake up in the morning, I think I probably know the answer to this. What's that burning desire? What's your why? What keeps you going? Because as an entrepreneur, you're not set from 9 to 5. And, I imagine, actually, now that I think about that, that's kind of probably much different than the military life that you had. You had every minute regimented out. Mm-hmm. So to be a success and to help and to give back, you've got to have some sort of why. So what's that why?
Yeah. So a couple things, and this is going to sound cliche to a lot of people, but I wake up every day trying to figure out how I can best be of service to my community and to humanity, because I legitimately believe that that's how you serve God. Mm-hmm. And that's my purpose for waking up. And also when I wake up, I roll over and I get to see my family sleeping. And knowing that I'm out here doing things to make their lives better in the future and hopefully, make their lives better today makes me happy. And then honoring people, basically honoring the people who were important to me in my life, my grandparents, my mom. I want to make sure that they understand that I'm grateful and appreciative for them, which is why I go out and do the things that I do. But the real reason why is I think the world could be a real better place.
Awesome.
A much, much better place. And I believe the only way to do that is by taking action, by having a good vision for the future, and by mastering yourself and skills in order to accomplish the goals that you set out to do.
Very cool. So, family's obviously important to you.
Extremely.
You're one of 6.
I'm the oldest of 6, yeah.
You still keep in touch with your siblings?
Oh, we were together yesterday.
Are they all still in Frederick?
We're all local, relatively local.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's very cool. So tell you, what advice would you give somebody just starting out in business? Maybe a shortcut that you could provide?
Well, first thing, I don't believe there are any shortcuts. I failed multiple times in business.
Right.
So coming from the military towards business, or even just going from the military to anything is a tough transition, really tough transition. So my advice for anybody is to remain patient, have a good plan, because basically proper planning prevents poor performance. So have a plan, know why you are doing what you're doing, and know who you're serving. Because if you're not serving anybody, you don't know your why, you don't have a good plan, and you're not patient to have, you're going to have that impact, but you have to be patient with it. That's basically my advice, 100%.
All right, I agree to 80% of that.
Okay. I
think you need to have a plan, but in business, that plan doesn't always come to fruition. You're here and you want to get here, and you'll get there. You're right, exactly. But it's not a linear line.
No.
You have successes, you have failures. You got to change. You got to go back.
100%.
2 steps back, 4 steps. So I agree. I agree with that. You have to have planning, but you have to be adaptable.
Yes.
You have to be adaptable.
Yes, always adaptable. And the Marines, we had a joke, but we said Semper Gumby. Always flexible.
Right.
Because you never know what's going to change. And resiliency is the ability to be able to get back up after falling down, but also recognizing that there's pressure, there's a push against you, and you have to find another way. So yeah, 100%. I think I was listening to a podcast the other day,
It might have been Gary Vaynerchuk. It was one of the podcasts I was listening to, and it was a quote that I just heard. It was like, it said, "Be like water."
Right.
Because water.
Bruce Lee.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's from Bruce Lee. Be like water, my friend.
Okay.
It says you could put water in a cup and it could fill the cup and it takes that shape. Water runs down mountains and it could erode and it can erode everything.
It takes the shape of whatever environment it's in.
That's right.
So be like water. Like take the shape of whatever environment you're in. Right.
That's right. That's right.
All right. So on the flip side, I know we kind of went on a tangent there. On the flip side, maybe what's a bad piece of advice or something that somebody told you would work out, kind of like we were talking here. Something that somebody told you would work out, but didn't work out like they said.
I have a real hard time when people say just grind it out, just wake up every day, just grind,
Right.
just go without taking rest. On multiple occasions in my life, I've tried to do that, and every single time I've crashed. So the worst advice is, the first worst advice is that. Just to grind it out until you win, like without asking for help or without
Right.
taking care of yourself. The insinuation is that if you just keep going, eventually you'll break through. But sometimes you just keep going, you run out of gas on the side of the road with no other recourse for action. So that's the worst piece of advice.
So take time for yourself.
Take time for yourself.
Right.
Self-care is extremely important. And don't forget to breathe. Don't forget to breathe.
Cool. So Teddy, in the last 3 years, what is a choice or a pivotal moment in your life, a decision that you made that has led you to where you are today with Eager Line?
The biggest shift that I had in my life was when I walked into, I used to work at this place called the Defense Threat Reduction Agency.
The what?
Defense Threat Reduction Agency.
Okay.
At Fort Belvoir.
Okay.
And great guys, great professionals, the top of the class in all kinds of things, weapons of mass destruction and CBRN related, Kimball space. But one day I was walking in there and I noticed, these guys are much older than me. They had retirements, they were working these second jobs, they were very unhappy. And I realized that I needed to leave that place and discover who I was. The most pivotal moment, so just to get straight to your answer, the most pivotal moment was when I left government contracting. I decided to sell my house, sell my car, sell my motorcycle. Basically, I sold everything I owned and I moved to San Diego to rediscover what I was all about.
Okay.
And it was sitting in San Diego, riding my Harley up and down the highway and putting my toes in the sand of the beach that I discovered that I needed to come back to Frederick. So I would say that stopping, like putting a halt on my career trajectory at that time and really thinking about what it is that I'm trying to accomplish in life and moving to San Diego and then ultimately moving back to Frederick was like, I gave up everything to do that.
So you went to defense contracting, government contracting, and then the next step was San Diego, and then back to Frederick? Basically?
Next up was San Diego, then
Okay.
the Frederick.
And then kind of found yourself and
Found myself back.
bigger calling to come back and,
Yeah.
and help the youth.
Help the youth, help the
Help
community,
the community.
And I wouldn't. I like this. My focus is on the youth, but really my intent is community development. I think that like youth is a huge part of developing a community, but also a huge part of developing a community is deciding what it is, what vision for that community. What's the future of that community? What programs are going to be in there to develop the youth? What programs are going to be there to help the families? What programs are going to be there to help the elderly? Because everybody forgets about the most important people in our lives, the people who teach us history.
Right.
So, yeah, coming back to Frederick and just being a part of this development process.
Cool. All right, Teddy, so I've sat across the microphone from 166 other entrepreneurs and business owners and thought leaders. I thoroughly enjoy the interviews. I thoroughly enjoy getting to meet new people, and I gain insight, business, life, personal development in every interview. I want to flip the script and have you ask me a question.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So you do, and forgive me for not being so
That's okay.
poignant. I have, because I want to go around some things. You do real estate, and you also do the Impact Club.
Yep.
Okay, and you also do Advice Givers.
Yep.
How do these come together? What's the grand union?
It's a very good question. So it started in real estate. And like you, I'm from Frederick, so I've been here 42 years minus my time at college, which was in Salisbury, which was in Maryland.
Awesome.
And first of all, I love helping people achieve the American dream. Okay, that's kind of cliche, but it is what it is. That's a career profession that I chose. Prior to being in real estate, I have a finance background, I have an MBA. So I was in accounting for a couple local companies here. I didn't enjoy sitting behind a desk all day. Okay, so I enjoyed helping people and meeting people. But I much prefer this type of interaction. So one-on-one, I'm not very salesy, so I was very fortunate because I am from Frederick to grow my real estate business, basically through relationships, okay? And about 6 years ago, 5 years ago, 5.5, 6 years ago, I kind of unlocked something that took my business from here to here, which is connecting with people through stories, okay? And I decided at that point, so we add in next, advice givers. So I wanted to help other local business owners and entrepreneurs share their story with an audience. So we started Advice Givers. 167 episodes later, we're still cranking strong. I still love meeting new people, forming new relationships. After this, you've said some things during the interview that I want to pick your brain on, so we'll go have coffee in the next week or two so I can learn more about you and kind of be selfish and kind of take some more of your advice. Then 2 years ago, so I was presented an opportunity to open an impact club here in Frederick. So Frederick Advice Givers was my way to give back to other business owners and entrepreneurs. Impact Club is basically a platform that marries individuals like yourself that want to give back and do good in the community, in the Frederick community. But you don't have $10 or $20 or $30,000 at a time to donate to a local nonprofit, local charity. So, but you do have maybe $100 a quarter. So for $100 a quarter, you come together, in our case, with 276 other like-minded individuals. We meet, we have a good time, we interact at the Blue Side every quarter. And we bring in 3 local nonprofits to share their story with our Impact Club. They get a microphone and they get 5 minutes. They tell their story, and there's a long backstory to it, but they're brought in at random. So there's no, they're brought in at random. I'll just leave it at that. So they get 5 minutes. The members that are there that night get to vote on the charity that they want to receive that quarter's donation. And we vote that night. The charity with the most votes walks away with that quarter's donation.
That's awesome.
Now, meanwhile, we are capturing their story, their video. We're documenting that whole process. So the 3 charities now also get their story in video documenting format that they can share with potential donors to them. So that was my way to give back to the community. So, it's all based on, being community centric, giving back to business owners, then giving back to the nonprofits.
I've heard of the Impact Club a lot.
Right.
I keep being asked to show up. But I also, this is the first time we've met. I know a lot of people that are involved in that, and it's phenomenal. That's great work.
So, come, it's February 19th. You can come as my guest. Okay. We invite people, because once you come, you'll probably cry that night. You'll feel the atmosphere. Once we get people in the room, they end up joining the Impact Club. So February 19th at the Blue Side from 6:30 to 7:30 is our next event.
Be there.
So I want to see you there.
That's awesome.
Come as my guest.
Yeah, I know that Danny Farrar, he's done that, and
he's a member. Not only is he a member, but he's a past winner.
That's right. I saw that with Platoon 22,
yep.
right?
Yep.
Huge. That's such a big thing.
Yeah.
That's a huge thing for me as well. Taking care of veterans.
Yep. He's
nobody else understands but vets why it's so important.
I can imagine. Yeah, Danny spreads himself thin, but he does good.
It seems like those of us who are doing work, and there's a selflessness about it, but are spreading ourselves too thin, especially him and others. So I find that I don't know, I feel great being back in a community with people that are my age, my generation, doing these things with very limited resources. And then you got you who are helping out with like lubricating that process. It's phenomenal.
Awesome. All right, so Teddy, what failure or loss has helped mold you into the person that you are today?
Ooh, I was talking about this yesterday with my family, my sisters. So, when I was very young, we lost a little brother.
Okay.
My family, most of my siblings wouldn't remember it, but I remember it like it was yesterday. That was the first death I dealt with. That was interesting. That helped
How old
shape.
were you?
4 or 5.
Okay.
It was just inside of my memory time. That was a huge thing. Losing my great grandmother, that was a big thing as well. Losing, and this is a big thing, but losing jobs. Like whether it was getting fired from a job or just walking away from things.
Right.
Sometimes I feel like, especially for me, because I identify with a mission. I identify with the mission. I want to accomplish a mission. When I accept the responsibility of a mission, it's hard for me to pull myself away from something. So whether it's losing a job because it wasn't a good fit, or losing a job because I needed to move on in my career, those have always been huge. And I would say the one thing that's separate from all of those, deep emotional ones was material gain. Mm-hmm. Selling my house. So I bought my first home when I was 23. Mm-hmm. When right after the financial collapse and the real estate collapse.
Right.
A lot of people don't remember it, but especially from our age, they just.
I remember it well, but go ahead.
Of course you do. Yeah. So that, like, selling my house at 28 years old, after it was the first house that I had owned, it was only the second house in my family's recent history that anybody had owned. So it was a huge deal, and then to let go of it, it was like letting go of an old dream. Right. And that's where I was like really officially on my march to who I am today.
Cool. So final question. Where do you see yourself in 3 years and 10 years?
Oh man, this is great. In 3 years, I see doing better in business, being a better consultant, having a better impact. Okay. I know it's like we're using that word so much.
That's okay.
But that's a big thing for me. Yeah. Right. Impact. My son will be 5. Oh, that looks really good. It's a good future. Now, 10 years, actually, I have some political ambitions. Okay. I want to run for Congress again. I want to win in 4 years.
Because you ran this past time, right?
I ran in 2000.
So tell me that.
I ran in 2016.
Right. So tell me that story.
So basically, I was in Jordan. I was teaching a terrorism response class, okay. And I was with a bunch of veterans, and they were all much older than me. And we were sitting around talking about, who we're going to vote for. And I couldn't, in good conscience, vote for the choices. So they said, "You have to do something." I was like, "Well, I guess you guys would put me in a corner. I'll run." And so I came back to Maryland. I registered. I was doing it as an independent. Ended up going with Green because I believed in their platform and what they were trying to do. I don't know if that's going to be something I want to do in the future with right. that. Like the political party thing, that's always a wonky thing. So I'm going to hold off from that. But running for office, it took the mysteria away from it for me.
Really?
I was up on the stage with the people who are winning, the Democratic choices, the Republican choices, and I was able to communicate and talk effectively to the crowd. And what I learned was that not only do you have to have a high respect for all of the other opponents that are up there and the desire to want to run, but it takes a lot of gumption, it takes a lot of grit to attempt to do that. Win, lose, or draw, I learned a lot from that. I learned, basically, I felt like I was a part of the process for the first time as a 32-year-old man. And all of the voting beforehand felt kind of, ill-informed. But at 32, voting, realizing what the issues were, studying the issues, listening to what everybody says, it was a lesson in civic responsibility. Okay. And community development. I don't think I'd be doing what I'm doing now if I didn't do that.
Okay. So that's where hopefully in 10 years you see yourself.
Hopefully, God willing. But I also so we're starting a nonprofit here where we started the nonprofit. We have the space, it's a funding thing called Center for Achievement. In 10 years, I hope to see that nonprofit through as a community center for the youth. So business, continued community service, and developing and impacting other people.
Awesome. So Teddy, How would our listeners, viewers, learn more about you? I know you gave some great insight in this interview. How would they learn more about you, get a hold of you, if they want to bring you in to talk to their organization, to help them out, be it a nonprofit, be it a for-profit? It sounds like you would be good at ops, you'd be good in preparation, you'd be good in planning. How would they get a hold of you?
Okay. So again, my name is Charles Theodore Galloway III. My friends call me Teddy. You're a friend. Please call me Teddy. I'm a nice guy, I think, and I think I have a lot to offer. You can get a hold of me. You can check me out at www.teddygalloway.com, or it's also www.eagerlioncompany.com. It takes you to the same website. You can learn a little bit about me. You can reach me at 240-244-9844. And if you're an organization and you have any problems or things that you're trying to solve, if it's a strategic alignment or vision issue, if it's operational plans, or if it's training for your employees, especially millennial employees or young employees in general, I'm your guy. So that's how I can help, and I hope to help and be able to have more of an impact on people locally in the community.
Awesome. Listeners, viewers, I hope you enjoyed Teddy Galloway's interview as much as I did. Phenomenal story, incredible energy.
Thank you.
Episode 167, Frederick Advice Givers, and we are out.